September 2025, Crypto Market Financial Astrology Forecast, The Great System Reset. September 2025 is poised to be one of the most volatile and pivotal months of the year. It is dominated by two powerful eclipses on the Virgo-Pisces axis, a Uranus retrograde station, and major planetary ingresses. The overarching theme is a systemic reality check. The dreamy illusions and unsustainable structures of the Pisces North Node will be aggressively challenged by the meticulous, detail-oriented, and critical energy of Virgo. Expect major trend reversals, high-impact news events, and a significant shakeout across all markets. September is dominated by two powerful eclipses on the Virgo-Pisces axis, signaling major market reversals, volatility, and a reality check. The month is bookended by a Pisces lunar eclipse, September 7th, exposing deception, and a Virgo solar eclipse, September 21st, forcing a purge of weak systems. Rare back-to-back lunar and solar eclipses in mutable signs historically align with transitional, volatile market phases. Similar periods, e.g., September 2016, September 2007, saw liquidity shifts, increased geopolitical risk, and a shift from complacency to defensive positioning in both crypto and equities. Saturn's retrograde back into Pisces and Uranus turning retrograde in Gemini amplifies themes of dissolution and structural tests. Expect a month of high-stakes volatility, culminating in a significant cycle low around the solar eclipse. This video provides an astrological analysis of market sentiment for September 2025. Utilizing Western tropical financial astrology and the whole sign house system, we will explore potential movements in cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, XRP, altcoins, traditional markets, the US dollar index, DXY, gold, and silver. While financial astrology offers a unique lens to observe trends and sentiment shifts, market movements are complex and influenced by many factors. Traders and investors should consider these insights in conjunction with fundamental analysis and robust risk management strategies. Important considerations for September 2025: external factors and volatility. Be prepared for unexpected geopolitical events or regulatory announcements, especially for cryptocurrencies, as these can override astrological influences and amplify volatility, particularly around astrological indications of eclipses. Risk management. Throughout the month, emphasize disciplined risk management. Always diversify your portfolio and never invest more than you can afford to lose. Disclaimer: this video is for informational and entertainment purposes only and should not be considered financial advice. Now let's get back to the video. September Market Sentiment Overview. September 2025 is poised to be an intensely volatile and predominantly bearish month, characterized by a tug-of-war between risk-on aspirations and harsh realities, and marked by two powerful eclipses that signal a major crisis and turning point for global systems. The month kicks off with immediate pressure. Mercury's entry into Virgo brings a sharp focus on details, utility, and practical applications. However, its challenging aspects to Saturn, reality restriction, Uranus, innovation disruption, and Pluto, transformation power, between September 2nd to 3rd, are ripe for triggering unexpected regulatory news, exposing data integrity concerns, or forcing a deep reevaluation of project viability. The first 2 weeks may see a temporary risk-on surge, fueled by astrological harmonies such as the Jupiter-Node trine and Venus-Neptune harmony. This could generate optimistic sentiment, particularly benefiting growth-oriented assets like tech, AI alts, and Web3. This contrasts with Saturn's retrograde back into Pisces, adding a layer of long-term uncertainty, dampening overly optimistic growth forecasts. This emphasis on underlying flaws is intensified by the Uranus retrograde station on September 6th. As Uranus governs technology, innovation, and, by extension, crypto, its stationing retrograde signals a profound internalizing energy. Stations are periods of intense energetic focus, often correlating with sharp trend reversals. For a market that thrives on forward momentum, this internalizing pull presents a stark bearish warning. The influence of Uranus Gemini retrograde suggests these upticks might be temporary or deceptive, leading to false breakouts and whipsaw trading. Further amplifying the cleansing theme, the Pisces lunar eclipse on September 7 acts as a washout, likely exposing and dissolving hype-driven or unsustainable projects that lack genuine substance. The Piscean full moon lunar eclipse stirs emotional waves and potentially irrational exuberance followed by disillusionment. This initial optimism is likely to be followed by a mid-month contraction. Astrological aspects like Saturn squaring the Moon and Venus quincunx the node are expected to prompt profit-taking and a shift towards a more defensive market posture. A significant risk-off correction is anticipated in the final weeks, as the Saturn-Sun opposition, the solar eclipse, and the Moon in Taurus strengthen the dollar and safe haven assets. The defining event for the month is the annular solar eclipse in Virgo on September 21, occurring at the critical 29th degree and in direct opposition to Saturn, representing reality and restriction. This eclipse is set to challenge the very fabric of global systems, employment, supply chains, data infrastructure, and public health. This powerful astrological signature indicates a breaking point and signals a new cycle demanding practical applications, systemic improvements, and a definitive challenge to outdated or unsustainable crypto models. We could see a crisis manifest as significant regulatory crackdowns, the exposure of fundamental flaws within protocols, or even major exchange protocol failures. Crucially, while disruptive, this is expected to be a cleansing period, ultimately favoring projects with robust fundamentals and demonstrable real-world utility, setting the stage for more discerning growth. In late September, adding to the overall intensity, Mars's ingress into Scorpio brings focused energy and a propensity for revealing hidden activities or vulnerabilities within the market. This could lead to strong, decisive movements or uncover previously concealed issues. A particularly volatile aspect, the Mars-Pluto square on September 24, carries the signature for a potential flash crash. This intense planetary alignment marks a climactic period of market adjustment and could signify a forceful unwinding of positions or a sudden shift in market sentiment following the eclipse's revelations. The overarching theme is a forced recalibration, where only projects with genuine utility and strong fundamentals are likely to emerge stronger on the other side. The Virgo Sun, especially with its oppositions and the solar eclipse later in the month, puts intense scrutiny on details, productivity, and tangible value. At the end of the month, as the Sun enters Libra and Mars enters Scorpio, the mood shifts towards seeking balance and strategic, potentially aggressive, bullish, maneuvering. Throughout September, the market sentiment will oscillate between optimistic liquidity bursts and harsh reality checks later in the month. Expect mounting pressure on tech and crypto assets, while traditional safe havens like the dollar and precious metals may experience increased demand amidst rising fear and uncertainty. Traders should be prepared for manipulative price action around the eclipses and anticipate rapid trend acceleration in their aftermath. September 2025 is shaping up to be a month of significant volatility, uncertainty, and potential crisis. The astrological signatures point towards major trend reversals, reality checks, and power struggles. Two powerful eclipses, a lunar eclipse in illusory Pisces and a solar eclipse in analytical Virgo, dominate the month, suggesting that hidden information will come to light, leading to a painful but necessary market reevaluation. The overarching themes are deleveraging, crisis of confidence, and a flight to safety. This is a month for capital preservation, not aggressive risk-taking. Overall market sentiment score, 3 out of 10, bearish to very bearish, to bullish post-equinox and eclipses, 6 out of 10 neutral to slightly bullish late month. Key astrological influences, historical overview, and trader psychology, the Moon. Representing the retail traders. The month begins with significant emotional turbulence around the lunar eclipse in Pisces on September 7. This period is expected to plunge retail investors into heightened states of confusion, fear, and illusion, making them exceptionally prone to panic selling and potentially leading to irrational decisions and impulsive actions. This early month intensity suggests a distinctly bearish phase for retail sentiment, as oversensitivity dictates market reactions. The double eclipse season, eclipses obscure and then reveal. The lunar eclipse in Pisces on September 7th can trigger emotional panic, irrationality, and the bursting of bubbles built on hype and illusion. The solar eclipse in Virgo on September 21st, occurring at the very end of the sign and opposite restrictive Saturn, is a much harsher event. It signifies a critical failure, a focus on flaws and fundamentals, and a potential systemic breakdown or major regulatory news. This is the centerpiece of the month's bearish pressure. The solar eclipse will initially trigger another wave of panic, particularly as market systems or established norms might appear to break down. However, this later eclipse also serves to refocus retail attention towards practicalities and new opportunities. Post-September 22nd, there's a potential for a fear of missing out FOMO mentality to emerge, shifting retail sentiment from early-month fear to a pursuit of perceived market highs. While overall volatility will remain a hallmark of retail behavior throughout September, the latter half of the month could see a recovery or increased buying activity as emotions swing towards optimism. Mercury. News and information flow. Mercury in Virgo historically aligned with sharp, news-driven market moves and technical trading patterns. The shift of personal planets into analytical Virgo, followed by balanced Libra, tends to bring a more discerning and less speculative market tone compared to the preceding Leo energy. Past Virgo and Libra season transitions have frequently brought a focus on fundamentals, valuations, and systemic adjustments. Mercury's influence on news and information flow in September 2025 will introduce a period of significant volatility and potential confusion. Upon its entry into Virgo on September 2nd, an initial analytical approach to data will quickly be overshadowed by challenging aspects, including a square to Uranus. This planetary alignment suggests a phase of confusing, chaotic, and unexpectedly disruptive news flow, marked by contradictory data and unreliable reports. Expect high rumor and news volatility, particularly around September 10th to 12th. With increased reports of tech disruptions, AI-related rumors, and even deceptive information, contributing to an overall bearish sentiment due to uncertainty. However, a notable shift is anticipated as Mercury enters Libra on September 18th. This ingress prioritizes diplomacy, balanced communication, and the search for common ground. This transition could lead to greater clarity in regulatory guidance, the emergence of new cross-market narratives, or significant partnership announcements. While the early part of the month is characterized by an unreliable and disruptive information landscape, the latter half offers the potential for more coherent communication, providing opportunistic clarity amidst the initial chaos and moving towards a more neutral to potentially bullish outlook for news interpretation. Venus. Value perception. Venus's position in September 2025 will bring a distinct evolution in market psychology regarding value perception. The month begins with Venus in Leo, a placement that typically fosters a more speculative and growth-oriented approach to valuing assets. During this initial phase, investors may be more inclined towards assets perceived as glamorous or those offering high growth potential, potentially overlooking underlying fundamentals in favor of narrative and momentum. A significant shift occurs on September 19th when Venus ingresses into Virgo. This transition immediately brings stressful aspects, fundamentally altering how assets are perceived. Market participants will become significantly more critical and discerning, shifting focus to practical utility, intrinsic value, and robust fundamentals. This period will see investors demanding tangible use cases and scrutinizing asset valuations with precision. Such critical evaluation could lead to a value re-rating, where flaws are magnified, potentially causing a bearish shock and selling pressure for assets that don't meet rigorous standards. Conversely, this focus on fundamentals also promotes cautious evaluation and a risk-off sentiment, ultimately driving purchases in quality assets that can demonstrate strong, tangible value, potentially moving from an initial bearish reassessment to a more bullish outlook for well-founded investments. Mars in turmoil. Mars' ingress into Scorpio has a reputation for sharpening risk appetite but also producing sharp, leveraged sell-offs when paired with Neptune or Pluto hard aspects. November 2022 BTC breakdown. The combination of a Uranus retrograde and harsh Mars aspects to Jupiter and Pluto has often marked sharp, unexpected reversals in tech sectors and aggressive, sometimes panicked, sell-offs in the broader market as hidden leverages and power struggles come to light. Mars action, aggression, risk appetite, starts the month in Libra, forming a 10th square to Jupiter in Cancer on September 5th. This is a classic signature for over-leveraged blowups and legal battles resulting in sharp losses. Mars then enters its home sign of Scorpio on September 22nd, becoming more ruthless and intense. Its immediate square to Pluto on September 24th is one of the most volatile and dangerous aspects possible, indicating extreme power struggles, market manipulation, forced liquidations, and potential crashes. Saturn and Uranus retrogrades. Uranus retrograde in Gemini, 84 years cycle, historically coincides with increased market uncertainty and sudden sector rotations, notably tech stocks and equities. Saturn's retrograde and ingress into a sign often brings a period of re-evaluation and potential contraction in markets associated with that sign. Saturn retrogrades back into Pisces on September 1st, dissolving old structures and bringing a sense of confusion and a focus on debt. Uranus, technology, crypto, sudden events, stations retrograde on September 6th, signaling a major reversal in tech trends and adding to the general instability. Sun, Saturn influence, regulatory pressure and structural resistance. The Sun-Saturn influence in September 2025 heralds a period of significant restrictive and corrective pressure on market psychology, primarily driven by market makers and regulators. This pairing suggests a tightening of liquidity, increased volatility, and the emergence of structural resistance, particularly post-September 18th and around the Virgo eclipse. Market makers are expected to enforce firm resistance levels, while regulatory announcements or actions loom large, creating an atmosphere of caution and hesitation among participants. This dynamic culminates dramatically with the Sun-Saturn opposition and the solar eclipse in Virgo opposing Saturn, retrograde, in Pisces around September 21st. This is highlighted as a dominant, very bearish theme, symbolizing the hand of regulation coming down hard. It portends a direct challenge to existing, dissolving structures, with authorities pushing for new, more robust frameworks or imposing stringent restrictions. Market psychology will be heavily influenced by this heightened scrutiny, focusing on order, clarity, and accountability, likely leading to corrections and a strong bearish sentiment as regulatory uncertainty pervades. Jupiter, Saturn influence, cautious reevaluation and limited upside. The interplay between Jupiter and Saturn in September 2025 represents a balance of opposing forces, expansion versus contraction, creating a period of both stabilizing tendencies and corrective limits. While Jupiter, particularly through a trine to the node mid-month, offers some support and a sense of cautious, conservative growth, its expansive influence is largely tempered by Saturn's dominant restrictive force. Market psychology may experience brief moments of optimism or bull traps when Jupiter's energies emerge, but these are quickly overwhelmed by Saturn's heavy, restrictive reality checks. Saturn retrograde in Pisces is a key theme, emphasizing the dissolution of old structures, re-evaluation of boundaries, and confrontation with disillusionment. This encourages a focus on reassessment rather than aggressive growth, imposing macro limits and creating resistance that caps the upside potential. Their energies are not directly aspect to offer strong, consistent support, but rather foster an underlying theme where stability is achieved through reevaluation and restructuring. Consequently, market psychology is likely to be characterized by prudence, a defensive posture, and a strong awareness of inherent limitations, leading to a neutral to bearish overall influence. Outer planets, nodes, and retrogrades, a period of long-term recalibration amidst destabilization. September 2025 sees the outer planets in retrograde, setting a pervasive long-term backdrop of economic and financial uncertainty, signaling an ongoing need for market corrections and internal adjustments. Uranus retrograde in Gemini, starting on September 6, is expected to slow momentum in technological innovation and may even reverse some tech trends, prompting a recalibration in the sector. Concurrently, Neptune retrograde in Aries continues to challenge widespread illusions, particularly concerning inflation and perceived value, forcing a more discerning view of market realities. Pluto retrograde in Aquarius persists in driving core transformations within power structures and societal frameworks, contributing to a sense of destabilization. The North Node in Pisces, with significant aspects on September 4th, 10th, and 25th, emphasizes the release of old karmic patterns associated with collective delusion or sacrifice, gently pushing towards a more compassionate yet astute financial future. This collective influence, compounded by Saturn's retrograde back into Pisces, dissolving old certainties, and the acute crisis of the September eclipses, fosters a wait-and-see approach across the market, as participants reevaluate before committing to significant new long-term trends. The overall psychological impact is one of cautious recalibration amidst an underlying current of destabilization. Jupiter, Pluto, whales, large traders, institutions, strategic stealth and opportunistic power plays. The influence of Pluto and Jupiter in September 2025 points to a highly strategic, often non-transparent period for whales, large traders, and institutional players. Pluto retrograde in Aquarius signifies deep, hidden transformations in large-scale finance, suggesting stealth accumulation or distribution behind the scenes. Jupiter in Cancer generally fosters conservative growth, but its influence is checked by a Mars square on September 5, indicating a potential for emotional overextension and large-scale speculative losses. These influential entities are poised to initiate significant, structural shifts, often in a non-transparent manner, especially around the solar eclipse trine Pluto on September 24, which empowers their actions. While Jupiter's trine to the North Node on September 4 supports hidden bids and bullish stealth accumulation for long-term positioning, the Mars-Pluto square indicates that whales may also engage in ruthless, coercive power plays. They are likely to exploit eclipse volatility for stop hunts, potentially triggering liquidations to their benefit and driving aggressive, destructive, stealth activity to flush out retail investors. Overall, institutional players will operate cautiously yet opportunistically, strategically taking profits, hedging risks, and positioning themselves for longer-term plays, with a particular interest in big bank and insurance stocks, all while capitalizing on market shifts with a blend of hidden accumulation and aggressive exploitation. Non-farm payroll, Friday, September 5. The non-farm payroll (NFP) announcement on Friday, September 5, occurs under a remarkably dynamic and highly volatile astrological configuration, suggesting that market reactions will be swift, dramatic, and potentially unpredictable. The immediate financial effects on this day are likely to be characterized by sharp movements and potential reversals. At the heart of the day's energy is a near full moon, with the Sun in analytical Virgo opposing the Moon in collective and erratic Aquarius. This opposition signifies a peak in emotional tension and a turning point, where public sentiment, Moon in Aquarius, will strongly react to economic data, Sun in Virgo. Expect the market to be highly sensitive to the NFP figures, leading to amplified price swings. Adding to this volatility is a very tight and disruptive square between Uranus in communicative Gemini and Pluto retrograde in transforming Aquarius. This intense aspect points to sudden, unexpected shifts in power dynamics, technological disruption, and profound changes within collective financial structures. Communication and news dissemination will be lightning fast, and existing paradigms could be challenged or overturned. However, not all influences are chaotic. Mercury, strong in its home sign of Virgo, forms a supportive trine to Uranus in Gemini, suggesting that despite the turmoil, there will be rapid and effective communication, keen analytical insights into the data, and an embrace of innovative solutions or fast technological shifts. Jupiter, expanding and nurturing Cancer, broadly trines the Sun, indicating a potential for foundational growth or a focus on domestic economic health, though it is also squared by Mars in Libra, hinting at potential conflicts over resources or fairness. Saturn retrograde in Pisces adds a layer of re-evaluation, restriction, or disillusionment regarding collective ideals, implying that any market moves might also involve the dissolving of outdated structures or the facing of past realities. Investors should brace for a day of significant and potentially surprising market reactions. Immediate financial astrology indicates a period of high volatility across the board, with the NFP report acting as a primary catalyst amidst disruptive Aquarian and Uranus-Pluto energies. Cryptocurrencies, including Bitcoin, XRP, and altcoins, are expected to be highly volatile and lean neutral to bearish, facing potential shakeouts if NFP data leads to risk-off sentiment. The US dollar index, DXY, will also experience extreme volatility, with its precise direction entirely contingent on the NFP figures. Traditional assets like gold and silver are forecast as neutral to bearish, likely struggling against a potentially stronger dollar and general market disruption. Similarly, equities are predicted to be highly volatile and neutral to bearish, with tech sectors seeing rapid swings, but the overall market facing headwinds and potential for quick reversals despite any initial NFP-driven rallies. Blood moon lunar eclipse in Pisces. September 7, 2025. 18:08 UTC. Time, the Pisces lunar eclipse, as positioned on the sensitive Pisces-Virgo axis, brings the moral material polarity into sharp focus within the financial markets, highlighting tensions between faith and reason, and service and sacrifice. Blood moon lunar eclipse in Pisces marks a significant celestial event, drawing collective attention to the fundamental tension between spiritual and material realities, faith and reason, and chaos and order. Situated on the Pisces-Virgo axis with the North Node in Pisces, this eclipse signifies a collective evolutionary push towards themes of compassion and awareness, encouraging the dissolution of rigid structures for collective healing. Conversely, it highlights the need to release Virgoan tendencies such as overanalysis, hypercriticism, perfectionism, and an overwhelming fixation on data at the expense of intuitive faith. Lunar eclipses, as culminations and revelations, tend to bring hidden emotional currents to light, prompting mass psychological shifts. This transition encourages independent strategy and self-assertion, moving away from merely adhering to potentially limiting established frameworks. Consequently, the eclipse may trigger heightened emotional reactions in speculative markets, characterized by sudden collapses or surges driven by collective psychology rather than pure fundamentals, and increased volatility in sectors like oil, water, shipping, and currencies. Periods with Pisces-Virgo eclipses, last seen September 2016, September 2007, have historically marked major trend inflection points in equities and crypto, often too, for weeks of volatility before trend resumption or reversal. Eclipses are typically acting as catalysts for major trend reversals or accelerations, often revealing hidden information or necessitating a reevaluation of existing structures. Lunar and solar eclipses, especially those involving mutable signs, are known to be turning points in financial markets, often connected with increased emotionality and irrational investor behavior. Pisces full moon eclipses, e.g., 2016, coincided with liquidity shocks and institutional repositioning in crypto. Historically, periods featuring eclipses on the Virgo-Pisces axis, particularly near the equinox, have coincided with significant market volatility, systemic stress, and crises related to health, employment, and commodities, especially oil. Historically, past Pisces-Virgo axis eclipses, such as those in 2006 to 2007, offer valuable context. During this period, the rise of social media platforms like Twitter and the transformation of Facebook and YouTube ushered in an age of collective connectivity, embodying Piscean themes of unity and shared experience. Concurrently, there were significant precursors to the 2008 financial crisis, with rising subprime mortgage volatility and systemic fragility, signaling the dissolution of old, Virgoan financial structures. Global health concerns, like the H5N1 bird flu, also surged, spotlighting collective vulnerabilities and global health security. The September 7 Pisces lunar eclipse, therefore, is expected to expose hidden tensions and emotional tipping points, particularly concerning collective financial hardship, water-climate issues, and the ongoing debates between faith and science, compelling a re-evaluation of how our societal, economic, and health systems integrate both practical and spiritual dimensions. This lunar eclipse, occurring on September 7 at 1808 Universal Time Coordinated, is poised to profoundly impact market sentiment, particularly on the day itself. With the market's identity, ascendant, in the fluid sign of Pisces, ruled by Neptune, intense emotional currents and liquidity will be the primary drivers, often overriding rational analysis. As a lunar eclipse, it signifies powerful culminations, dramatic revelations of previously hidden activities, and significant shifts in mass market psychology. Expect market disturbances that may lack clear fundamental causes, driven instead by instinctive collective responses, heightened sensitivity, and a potential wave of mass anxiety or emotional overwhelm. This period can expose large-scale collective disillusionment and painful truths about financial suffering. Expect significant market volatility, characterized by dramatic swings and rapid reversals, as the grounded analytical approach, Virgo Sun, clashes with collective emotional narratives, Pisces Moon. There will be a keen focus on liquidity flows, central bank actions, and debt stability, with a risk of speculative overreach. While certain Neptunian-influenced sectors like oil and gas, pharmaceuticals, and digital assets may see heightened activity, the overall recommendation for September 7 is extreme caution and capital preservation, avoiding aggressive new positions and instead observing the prevailing emotional tides. As the eclipse aligns with the North Node in Pisces, the collective market sentiment will lean towards dissolving outdated rules and rigid structures, fostering creativity, and an increased sense of compassion towards financial hardship, particularly amongst small traders and the general public. Conversely, the South Node in Virgo suggests that market makers and regulators will be compelled to release tendencies toward overanalysis, bureaucratic overload, and an excessive fixation on data at the expense of broader collective well-being. The opposition of the Sun and leadership to this alignment signifies revelations and potential polarization, urging an integration of practical market realities with more humanitarian and spiritual considerations. From a practical market perspective, this configuration often translates into heightened emotional reactions, manifesting as strong fear or greed tides in speculative markets. This can lead to sudden collapses or surges driven more by collective psychology and emotional contagion than by underlying economic fundamentals. Sectors particularly susceptible to increased volatility include oil and water-related industries, shipping, and currency markets, which may experience unexpected and rapid price swings. Looking ahead to the month following the eclipse, September 7 to October 7, the market will enter a period of deep re-evaluation concerning asset valuations and liquidity dynamics. This phase will be marked by bold, innovative financial initiatives, yet potentially shrouded in idealism or even deception. Monetary policy, inflation, and debt costs will remain central themes, with a possibility of unconventional or mixed signals from central banks. There's a strong imperative for the market to move away from past speculative excesses and illusions towards more practical, analytical, and collaborative approaches, which may lead to a reality check for highly speculative assets. The next 3 to 6 months, following the Pisces lunar eclipse, are set to initiate a profound period of unveiling and restructuring for global financial markets, characterized by the dissolution of unsustainable economic paradigms and the arduous forging of new, more transparent, and partnership-driven foundations. This cycle will prompt a systemic re-evaluation of what constitutes true wealth and security, leading to a redefining of asset classes and investment strategies. Simultaneously, global debt structures and monetary policies will undergo a challenging evolution, with potential for innovative, possibly unconventional, solutions to emerge, impacting global liquidity and inflationary-deflationary pressures. A dominant theme will be global economic realignment, driving a powerful imperative towards international cooperation, the re-engineering of supply chains, and the formation of new alliances based on practicality and mutual benefit. This will compel nations and corporations to abandon inefficient dependencies, with geopolitical shifts often reflecting these economic imperatives. Key sectors will experience significant transformation. Energy, water, and natural resources will see a re-evaluation. Healthcare and biotech will experience innovation and increased regulatory oversight. Practical applications of AI, data analytics, and robust digital infrastructure will likely see sustained growth, while highly speculative tech faces scrutiny, and real estate and infrastructure values and funding models will continue to evolve. This multi-month period will also be marked by the unmasking of market deceptions, speculative bubbles, and unsustainable business models, bringing previously obscured truths to light and impacting highly leveraged ventures. Despite these systemic challenges, discerning growth opportunities will emerge, rewarding innovation grounded in practical application, ethical considerations, and sustainable value creation. FOMC Rate Decision and Market Projection, Wednesday, September 17, 1800 hours Universal Time Coordinated. Immediate financial astrology effects, Wednesday, September 17, FOMC Day. The FOMC event on September 17 is marked by a strong focus on data and practicality, but with an underlying tone of caution and a potential for market disillusionment. The Sun and Mercury are tightly conjunct in meticulous Virgo, indicating that the Federal Reserve's communication will be highly analytical, detailed, and focused on facts and economic indicators. However, the Moon in dramatic Leo suggests an emotional market response, eager for clear direction but prone to exaggerated reactions. Saturn, the planet of restriction, reality, and discipline, being retrograde in watery Pisces, creates a mood of sober realism, potential disillusionment, and a re-evaluation of liquidity or speculative exuberance. Things might not be as clear as they seem, and there's a strong likelihood of the market facing a reality check regarding expectations. Mars in diplomatic Libra further emphasizes a cautious, perhaps indecisive, approach to aggressive action, suggesting a desire for balance rather than a strong directional move. Jupiter in Cancer square to the North Node suggests potential conflicts between expansion and collective destiny. Amid a prevailing Saturnian reality check and cautious tone, speculative assets like BTC, XRP, and altcoins are expected to be bearish-neutral, leaning bearish, as they will be most sensitive to a tightening narrative and disappointing outlook, while equities also face a bearish outlook under a restrictive FOMC message. Conversely, the DXY US dollar index is expected to be bullish, driven by a restrictive Fed stance and a flight to safety. Gold and silver are seen as neutral bullish, offering safe haven support amidst uncertainty, although a strong DXY could cap their gains, and energy is assessed as neutral bearish due to potential dampening demand from economic caution. FOMC short-term effects over the next few weeks. The outlook remains significantly influenced by the slow-moving outer planets, many of which are retrograde, signaling a period of deep re-evaluation, reversals, and uncovering of hidden truths. Saturn retrograde in Pisces will continue to impose financial restrictions, expose liquidity issues, and bring a sense of disillusionment about overly optimistic projections. This period will emphasize accountability and facing the true state of affairs in financial systems. Uranus retrograde in Gemini indicates ongoing technological disruptions, unexpected shifts in communication, and potential volatility related to information and transportation. Pluto retrograde in Aquarius continues its slow, powerful transformation of collective power structures, hinting at underlying shifts in decentralization and global governance that will profoundly impact markets. The upcoming shift of Mars into Scorpio will be a critical turning point, bringing intense, decisive, and potentially confrontational energy to financial matters. Mars in Scorpio delves into debt, secrets, hidden wealth, and can trigger sharp moves related to these themes. This period will be characterized by a continuation of the reality check initiated by Saturn. Markets will likely undergo significant reevaluation, potentially experiencing volatility and sharp corrections as suppressed issues or hidden debts come to light. Mars in Scorpio. There will be an ongoing struggle between the desire for expansion, Jupiter in Cancer, and the need for structural transformation, Pluto in Aquarius. The underlying current is one of caution, introspection, and necessary, though potentially painful, adjustments to financial systems. Under strong Saturnian and Plutonian energies, amplified by Mars in Scorpio, a period of deep market cleansing and reevaluation is expected, uncovering vulnerabilities and challenging growth across various sectors. Bitcoin and XRP are projected as bearish neutral, facing prolonged consolidation and broader market reevaluation, while altcoins, due to their higher risk profile, are set to underperform significantly. Equities will also contend with headwinds from these restrictive conditions, leading to potential corrections and challenged corporate earnings. Conversely, the DXY is anticipated to be bullish, serving as a safe haven amidst global uncertainty and tightening financial conditions exacerbated by geopolitical tensions. Gold and silver are also seen as bullish, benefiting from ongoing uncertainty, inflation concerns, and a flight to real assets as financial systems are reevaluated. Energy markets, though highly volatile, are poised at neutral bullish, with Mars and Scorpio potentially intensifying geopolitical tensions and supply-demand dynamics leading to price spikes. Virgo solar eclipse, September 21, 2025 at 1943 Universal Time Coordinated. Partial solar eclipse, Virgo 28 degrees 59 minutes. The upcoming partial solar eclipse on September 21, 2025, at 28 degrees 59 minutes Virgo, with the North Node in Pisces and South Node in Virgo, signifies a period of intense reevaluation, practical adjustments, and a necessary purge of what is inefficient or no longer serving our collective and individual financial health. The September solar eclipse is a potent lunation for the financial world, particularly due to its placement in the anaretic, 29th, degree of Virgo and the overarching nodal axis of Pisces, North Node, and Virgo, South Node. Eclipses are moments of fated change, new beginnings, and often expose what has been hidden, setting a new course for the next 6 months to a year. When eclipses activate the Pisces-Virgo axis, events highlight the tension between faith and reason, service and sacrifice, chaos and order. This axis often brings to light hidden issues, deceptive practices, or areas where boundaries have become too porous. Solar eclipses occurring on the Virgo-Pisces axis invariably draw collective attention to the interplay between the material and the spiritual, order and dissolution. These powerful celestial events signal news cycles, external events, and often systemic resets, with their full impact sometimes becoming visible months later. When a Virgo solar eclipse occurs with the South Node in Virgo, meaning the North Node is in Pisces, as seen in September 2006, September 2007, and the upcoming September 2025, it marks a period of significant endings and dissolution in Virgoan themes. These eclipses, conjunct the karmic South Node, tend to bring about crises and breakdowns in established systems such as public health, government bureaucracies, agriculture, and labor structures. Outdated institutions and business models, particularly those tied to precision industries, logistics, micromanagement, and over-rationalization, are shown to be unsustainable and begin to collapse. Old methods of healing, like overprescription or mechanistic medicine, are revealed as unsustainable, prompting a necessary shift. During these cycles, the collective destiny, guided by the North Node in Pisces, leans towards surrender, compassion, spiritual awareness, and the dissolving of rigid structures, urging us to release hypercriticism, perfectionism, and excessive fixation on data in favor of greater fluidity and collective healing. What we're moving away from releasing, South Node in Virgo, over-reliance on precise financial models that lack a holistic view, excessive scrutiny of details that miss the bigger picture, a focus on efficiency that ignores ethical implications, practical limitations in financial systems. The illusion of perfect financial management. Where we're headed, integrating, North Node in Pisces, unveiling hidden financial complexities, the dissolution of speculative bubbles, the blurring of financial boundaries, e.g., global financial interconnectedness, issues of collective debt or financial scams. Emphasizing charity, humanitarian financial aid, and understanding the intangible value. Short-term effects, 1 to 6 months post, solar eclipse, heightened awareness of underlying financial vulnerabilities, the cracks in seemingly robust systems. Revelation of hidden debts or problematic assets. A sense of unease or confusion in financial markets. Long-term effects, year plus. These eclipses were a precursor to the 2008 global financial crisis. They heralded the unraveling of the subprime mortgage market, a prime example of SN Virgo's detailed but ultimately flawed financial instruments dissolving under North Node Pisces' theme of hidden debt, illusion, and inevitable global dissolution. The sheer scale and interconnectedness of the crisis, Pisces, became apparent, moving beyond the individual details, Virgo. Eclipses are known to bring sudden shifts, uncover hidden information, and create volatility, particularly on or around the day of the event. A solar eclipse is a potent new moon, signifying new beginnings, resets, and an amplified focus on the sign it occurs in. This solar eclipse, at the anaretic, 29th degree of Virgo, amplifies the sense of urgency and culmination, suggesting a breaking point in how we manage details, analyze data, and strive for perfection in financial systems. The South Node in Virgo emphasizes letting go of excessive worry, overanalysis, and rigid structures, while the North Node in Pisces encourages moving towards intuition, compassion, and a more fluid, interconnected understanding of value. With the Sun and Moon conjoined in Virgo, during the September 2025 solar eclipse, the immediate global emphasis will be on practical matters, efficiency, systems, data, health, work, and critical analysis. The South Node in Virgo suggests that we are collectively being asked to release overanalysis, perfectionism, micromanagement, and fear-based scrutiny, while the North Node in Pisces points towards a future of intuition, compassion, collective well-being, and dissolving rigid boundaries. Key planetary placements further inform this outlook. The Sun and Moon in Virgo, closely conjunct Venus, highlight a strong focus on practical value, efficiency, and the fundamentals of assets. Value will be derived from utility and tangible benefits. However, this practical energy is opposed by Saturn retrograde in Pisces, which is dissolving old structures, challenging boundaries, and creating confusion around traditional systems or overly idealistic ventures. This opposition suggests a significant reality check, or a struggle between data-driven facts and a more intuitive, less tangible understanding of the market. Pluto retrograde in Aquarius points to deep, unavoidable transformations in technology and collective financial power structures, while Uranus retrograde in Gemini injects unpredictability into information flows and market narratives. Mercury and Mars in Libra, at the anaretic degree for Mars, will bring a strong emphasis on fairness, legal negotiations, and the pursuit of balance in financial agreements. Immediate financial astrology effects. Day of eclipse. The day of the eclipse is likely to bring heightened volatility, uncertainty, and potential for sharp market movements. The 29 degrees Virgo and the Saturn opposition suggest a reality check and a cleansing or completion of certain narratives or market conditions. News, data, or sudden revelations, Mercury square Pluto, could trigger significant reactions. BTC bearish. Crypto markets are sensitive to cleaning out energies. The Virgo South Node eclipse opposite Saturn in Pisces suggests a strong reality check on speculative assets, potential for increased regulatory scrutiny, Saturn, and the stripping away of unproven or overly idealistic projects. Expect volatility, potential for sharp declines, or a focus on fundamental utility over hype. XRP, bearish to neutral. While XRP often moves with BTC, its ongoing legal situation could make it particularly sensitive to the truth revealed or legal clarity themes of the Mercury-Pluto square and the Virgo focus on practical systems. The day itself might see increased scrutiny or legal news, potentially causing uncertainty. Altcoins, bearish. Altcoins, especially those with weaker fundamentals or high speculation, are most vulnerable during a cleansing eclipse. The Saturn opposition demands substance, and the Virgo energy scrutinizes practicality. Expect significant declines and a flight away from riskier assets. DXY US dollar index neutral to slightly bullish. In times of uncertainty and market correction, Saturn, the US dollar often acts as a safe haven. However, the opposition to Saturn in Pisces and the Mercury-Pluto square also suggest underlying systemic issues or revelations that could challenge the dollar in the longer term. On the day, safe haven demand might provide a slight boost. Gold, neutral to bullish. Gold traditionally thrives on uncertainty, economic reevaluation, and challenges to traditional financial systems. The stripping away of illusions, Pisces South Node, and demand for tangible value, Virgo, could make gold attractive. Silver, neutral to bullish. Similar to gold, silver benefits from a flight to real assets during periods of economic reevaluation and volatility. Its industrial demand aspect, tied to the Virgo theme of practical use, could also be a factor. Equities, bearish. Equities are likely to face significant downward pressure. The Saturn opposition to the eclipse demands a reality check on valuations, particularly for speculative or high-growth sectors. The 29 degrees Virgo signifies a potential culmination or reevaluation of current market trends, possibly leading to a sharp correction. Mercury-Pluto suggests intense scrutiny of corporate earnings or financial data. Energy, neutral to volatile. Energy markets are complex, influenced by supply-demand and geopolitical factors. Virgo can focus on efficient production and practical energy solutions, while the Saturn opposition in Pisces could involve environmental regulations, supply chain issues, or the dissolution of older energy paradigms. Mars at 29 degrees Libra squaring Jupiter signifies potential for disputes or significant actions related to resources or international trade, creating volatility. Financial astrology effects. 1 to 3 months post-eclipse. The period following this Virgo solar eclipse on the South Node, opposite Saturn in Pisces, will be characterized by a deep and necessary reevaluation of financial systems, investments, and economic realities. This is a time for cleaning house, addressing financial debts, scrutinizing what truly works, Virgo, and letting go of what has been based on illusion or unsustainable practices, Pisces South Node Saturn. BTC, XRP, altcoins, bearish to neutral, leaning towards a crypto winter or consolidation. The next 1 to 3 months will test the resolve and utility of crypto projects. Projects with strong fundamentals, clear use cases, and robust technology will have a better chance of weathering this period. Expect continued regulatory pressure, Saturn, decreased speculative fervor, and a focus on real-world adoption. This could be a purging period for the market, laying groundwork for future, more stable growth, but the immediate future looks challenging for broad gains. DXY US dollar index neutral to volatile. While initially supported by safe haven demand, the underlying systemic issues highlighted by Saturn in Pisces and Mercury square Pluto in Aquarius could lead to periods of significant uncertainty for the dollar. Policies aimed at addressing debt or financial vulnerabilities will be key. Expect a bumpy ride, with the dollar's strength being tested by evolving global economic conditions. Gold and silver, bullish. As the stripping away of illusions and the need for tangible assets gain traction, gold and silver are likely to perform strongly over the next 1 to 3 months. This period of economic restructuring and uncertainty typically favors precious metals as a store of value against inflation or market volatility. Equities, bearish to neutral. The market will likely continue to grapple with the reality checks initiated by the eclipse. We could see a sustained period of correction, sector rotation, or a focus on fundamentally strong, dividend-paying companies over highly speculative growth stocks. Earnings reports and economic data will be scrutinized heavily by Virgo, and any signs of weakness could be met with significant selling pressure. In summary, this Virgo solar eclipse on the south node, opposite Saturn, initiates a period of sober assessment, necessary restructuring, and the confrontation of financial realities. While potentially challenging, it ultimately aims to bring greater clarity and a more sustainable foundation for the future. ASET asset analysis and strategy, Bitcoin, BTC navigating eclipses towards a potential rebound. Sentiment, bearish early month, transitioning to neutral to bullish after initial volatility, and firmly bullish post-September 24. Overall score, 6 out of 10. Bitcoin is set to experience a volatile month, beginning with a bearish tone but poised for a significant rebound in the latter half. The month kicks off with bearish sentiment, influenced by Mercury's chaotic aspects and the pressure of Saturn retrograde. BTC, often seen as a digital gold, and a safe haven in the crypto realm, will face initial uncertainty, potentially leading to a dip or consolidation as its fundamental value is scrutinized. While not immune to broader market corrections, its perceived status may offer some slight resilience. The Pisces lunar eclipse, around September 7, is a critical event. Historically, such eclipses can flush leveraged long positions, marking a short-term emotional extreme and potentially a local bottom. This period may present the first by the dip opportunity. The more impactful solar eclipse in Virgo, September 21, opposing Saturn retrograde, is crucial. As the market leader, Bitcoin will face a significant test of its structural foundations and long-term viability. The period around this eclipse, September 21 to 24, looks particularly dangerous, potentially leading to a test of major support levels and a significant drop, especially compounded by a Mars-Pluto square around September 24. This aspect demands a re-evaluation of BTC's role as a store of value and foundational asset within the broader financial system. Following the deep clearing event of the solar eclipse, a new, more robust cycle can begin for Bitcoin. This shift towards practical applications, Virgo themes, and the intense financial focus of Mars in Scorpio could lead to increased institutional interest in Bitcoin's underlying security and utility, ultimately strengthening its position as a foundational asset. The ingress of Mars into Scorpio, post-September 22, coupled with the onset of Libra season, a sharp, V-shaped recovery is plausible post-September 24, fueled by the Sun trining Uranus, even after an initial drop. Opportunities. The best times for accumulation are expected post-lunar eclipse, after September 7, and particularly during the post-solar eclipse dip, around September 21 to 24. These moments, especially any significant sell-offs, should be seen as buy the dip opportunities, with a gradual recovery anticipated thereafter. XRP and XLM, sentiment, bearish early month. Neutral to bullish late month. Score, 6 out of 10. The early part of the month is marked by a challenging astrological landscape, which could contribute to widespread market uncertainty and suppress prices for these assets. Saturn retrograde back into Pisces continues to exert pressure on legal and regulatory news cycles, a crucial factor for both XRP and XLM. Eclipses in mutable signs historically introduce volatility, and this month's Virgo solar eclipse, September 21st, is a double-edged sword. While it signals potential crises or overhauls in existing financial systems, a core Virgoan theme, it simultaneously creates an impetus for new, robust solutions, precisely what these assets aim to offer. However, the initial market turbulence arising from these aspects is likely to keep short-term price action subdued. XRP's trajectory remains heavily influenced by institutional adoption and regulatory developments. The emphasis on systems and practical application brought by the strong Virgo influence, Mercury, Sun, and Venus, is generally favorable. Initial jitters, Mercury's entry into Virgo, September 2nd, may initiate detailed discussions, though initial challenging aspects could trigger FUD or legal jitters. Regulatory and partnership clarity, as Mercury and later the Sun transit into Libra, Sun on September 22nd, the focus shifts towards balance, partnerships, and potentially favorable legal resolutions or greater clarity. Utility and value drive, Venus entering Virgo, September 19th, strengthens the ISO DeFi narrative, highlighting the need for tangible utility and real-world value, a space where XRP has been actively positioning itself. Legal challenges and resolutions, Mars in Libra squaring Jupiter, September 5th, suggests potential clashes in justice or expansion narratives, possibly leading to negative headlines regarding XRP's legal status or partnerships. The solar eclipse in Virgo could act as a catalyst for new regulatory or partnership developments. The sentiment is expected to further improve after Mars enters Scorpio, September 22nd, fostering greater clarity in enforcement actions or legal proceedings, allowing XRP to potentially thrive, especially as favorable news articles might emerge during Mercury's transit through Virgo. Similar to XRP, Stellar Lumens, XLM, benefits from the Virgo-Libra emphasis on efficiency, clarity, and balanced relationships, aligning with its focus on cross-border payments and strategic partnerships. The solar eclipse in Virgo, September 21st, could prove to be a significant catalyst, initiating new agreements or technological upgrades that enhance XLM's utility within the financial ecosystem. As a utility coin, XLM is generally less prone to extreme speculation-driven volatility compared to other assets. Mars entering Scorpio, September 22nd, will lend intensity to Stellar's mission, potentially revealing significant network developments or strategic alliances that were previously under wraps, paving the way for stronger movements later in the month. XLM is also well-positioned to benefit from any Bitcoin recovery phases post-eclipse, suggesting a potential for liquidity rotation towards mid-cap utility assets around that time. While some sideways movement might be observed early on due to broader market uncertainty, its fundamental utility and strategic collaborations offer resilience. Buying opportunities. For both XRP and XLM, watch for buying opportunities after any significant post-eclipse corrections or broader market sell-offs, as these could present favorable entry points, especially as the astrological landscape shifts towards more clarity and resolution in the latter half of the month. Ethereum, sentiment, neutral, initially. Bullish, by month end. Score, 6 out of 10. The month presents a dynamic period for Ethereum, starting with potential headwinds, but shifting towards a more constructive outlook. The strong emphasis on smart contract narratives this month, particularly with Mercury's influence, is expected to benefit Ethereum. This dynamic can attract institutional interest and drive further advancements in the DeFi and Web3 sectors. Additionally, Mars in Scorpio could stimulate speculative activity within the DeFi ecosystem, potentially leading to rotations into ETH-related assets. However, the early part of the month is fraught with challenges. Similar to broader market trends, Ethereum is likely to feel the impact of the Uranus retrograde station, September 6, potentially leading to delays in upgrades or a reevaluation of existing dApp functionalities and overall ecosystem stability. Initial hard aspects from Mercury, particularly to Saturn and Neptune, could manifest as network issues, confusing news, or FUD, highlighting potential vulnerabilities or scalability concerns within its vital DeFi and Web3 infrastructure. The Virgo solar eclipse crisis further suggests a period of extreme stress and scrutiny for the ecosystem. The sentiment shifts positively mid-month. Venus entering Virgo, September 19, will emphasize the demand for real utility and tangible value from the Ethereum ecosystem, solidifying its practical narrative. The subsequent solar eclipse in Virgo, September 21, is poised to initiate a renewed practical focus for ETH, likely related to efficiency, security enhancements, or refined scaling solutions. This renewed emphasis on practical application is expected to make Ethereum more attractive to investors as the month progresses, bolstering its underlying value proposition despite broader market volatility during eclipse periods. Overall, Ethereum can expect a dynamic month. While initial periods may test its resilience through network concerns and a reevaluation of its growing ecosystem, the latter half promises a strong pivot towards utility, efficiency, and renewed interest, ultimately supporting a shift towards a more bullish outlook. Altcoins, sentiment, bearish. Score, 4 out of 10. The month begins with potential speculative rallies in AI Web3 and DeFi altcoins, driven by Jupiter node optimism. However, this early momentum is tempered as Saturn's departure from Aries could soon shift sentiment towards risk-off, impacting more speculative and innovation-focused crypto assets. A significant turning point arrives around September 6 with the Uranus retrograde station. Given Uranus's influence over technology and decentralization, this direct hit signals a sharp reversal of previous trends, likely impacting altcoin valuations. September will be dominated by eclipse season, September 7th and 21st, featuring a full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces and a solar eclipse in Virgo. Historically, eclipses destabilize low-liquidity coins, leading to pronounced emotional volatility and sharp reversals in both directions. The lunar eclipse in Pisces, in particular, may amplify market emotions. The solar eclipse in Virgo, September 21st, is particularly critical. It threatens the system's narrative and, combined with Mars-Pluto aspects driving a risk-off environment, will likely cause capital to flee from volatile assets. This period poses extreme risk for altcoins, especially those with weak fundamentals, such as memecoins or hype-driven projects. Virgo energy emphasizes prudence and real-world utility, meaning projects lacking these qualities could face significant corrections or revaluation. Towards the end of the month, Mars entering Scorpio suggests increased risk appetite and potentially impulsive trading. While this could offer short-term boosts to some altcoins, it also ensures continued high volatility across the crypto market. Opportunities: look for selective, high-risk opportunities, particularly for accumulation, as some altcoins may align with Bitcoin's post-eclipse price action. Potential for significant movement post-eclipses. Smart contract platforms, assets like Ethereum and Solana are likely to show the fastest recovery post-volatility periods. Memecoins and hype projects, these will remain highly unstable. Significant caution is advised. Consider avoiding until after September 25. Focus on fundamentals. The Virgo eclipse period underscores the importance of projects with real-world utility and strong fundamentals. ISO DeFi Alts, e.g., QNT, HBR, ALGO, XDC, VET, IOTA sentiment, bearish choppy, turning bullish after September 21, sentiment score, 610. The month opens with regulatory caution, potentially leading to a temporary slowdown. Saturn leaving Aries and continuing its retrograde into Pisces may increase initial regulatory concerns, leading to a bearish lean for these alts early on. Concerns about security and usability may also heighten. The strong Virgo emphasis, Mercury ingress September 2nd, Venus ingress September 19th, directs significant attention to fundamental utility, efficiency, and compliance, core strengths of this sector. The eclipse season pushes for the dissolution of old, inefficient systems. This ultimately clears the path for ISO-compliant solutions. Alts engaged in DeFi and blockchain innovation stand to benefit from the analytical environment presented by Mercury in Virgo. Post-eclipse revival, the solar eclipse in Virgo, September 21st, is a pivotal moment, directly supporting new cycles of development and integration for projects focused on real-world financial infrastructure and institutional adoption. This period is expected to drive liquidity inflow as regulatory concerns begin to clear. Volatility and breakouts, expect volatility to remain a constant. Mars in Scorpio will fuel breakout narratives and potential for sharp price increases, particularly during the Mercury trine Uranus period, September 19th to 24th, which could spark significant volatility trades. Web3 and AI Alts sentiment, bearish with volatility, late-month bullish hype. Sentiment score, 410. This sector, highly sensitive to innovation and network dynamics, ruled by Uranus and Mercury Gemini, faces significant challenges. The Uranus retrograde in Gemini, September 6th, coupled with a challenging Mercury, initial square to Uranus on September 3rd, then opposition to Saturn-Neptune, makes this arguably the most exposed category. This combination suggests increased speculative swings, potential for project failures, hacks, unexpected technical glitches, and a severe loss of confidence early in the month. The initial Mercury square Uranus, September 3rd, could bring disruptive news. Demand for utility, the prevailing Virgo energy will shift investor focus from theoretical potential to tangible utility and real-world performance. Investors will become more discerning, demanding clarity and demonstrable use cases. This category remains highly susceptible to volatility, risk-off movements, and is vulnerable to profit-taking. Late-month hype resurgence, despite initial difficulties, a renewed focus and bullish hype cycle resurgence for Web3 AI Alts are anticipated late in the month, September 24th to 28th. This potential upswing is driven by the Sun-Mercury in Libra trine Uranus, aligning with a renewed interest in AI and innovative technologies. Privacy alts, e.g., XMR, ZEC, Dash, sentiment, strongly bullish, with significant catalysts emerging late month. Score, 8 out of 10. While the market may face broader volatility, privacy coins often demonstrate resilience or even thrive during periods of heightened market tension and the global need for secrecy. The current climate of increased scrutiny and digital surveillance fundamentally strengthens their value proposition. Pluto retrograde in Aquarius continues its long-term mission of reshaping power structures, uncovering hidden systems, and prompting a reevaluation of data control. As the month progresses, Pluto's trine to the Sun, Mercury, and Venus will bring essential privacy features and the concept of hidden value firmly into the spotlight. This alignment is poised to attract a growing segment of users seeking greater control over their financial data, positioning privacy coins as crucial tools in an evolving digital landscape. The astrological landscape is aligning powerfully for privacy-focused cryptocurrencies. With Mars entering Scorpio on September 22nd, a sign inherently linked to hidden matters, deep investigation, and secrets, privacy narratives are set to receive a significant boost. Scorpio, ruled by Pluto, the planet of transformation, secrets, and power, amplifies the demand for security, autonomy, and financial sovereignty. This transit is historically known to ignite speculative interest and strong price action in assets associated with these themes. A potent and potentially volatile catalyst arrives with the Mars-Pluto square on September 24th. This intense alignment could manifest as significant news events, such as major government surveillance revelations or high-profile exchange privacy failures. Such developments are primed to trigger a strong, narrative-driven pump for privacy alts, as users flock to solutions offering enhanced security. While the aspect itself speaks to intense confrontations, for privacy coins, it often translates into increased demand driven by urgent necessity. Though Pluto retrograde might temper some purely impulsive movements, it simultaneously deepens the focus on the underlying utility and fundamental value of these assets. This period encourages a more discerning appreciation of privacy features, moving beyond speculative froth to a recognition of their essential role in financial freedom. Expect strong momentum as the month concludes, driven by both astrological catalysts and increasing real-world demand for financial anonymity. DXY US Dollar Index Outlook. DXY, strongly bullish, early mid-month, potential moderation late month. Sentiment score, 710. The DXY is projected to maintain a strong bullish stance for most of September, significantly driven by safe haven demand and astrological risk-off signatures. While this strength is expected to be pronounced, a potential moderation or slight decline could emerge in the latter part of the month. Global market fear and systemic risk will drive a distinct flight to quality, making the US dollar the primary beneficiary. Astrologically, the Virgo solar eclipse and Saturn's opposition to the Virgo stellium emphatically support a risk-off environment, intensifying demand for the dollar's perceived safety. This risk-off sentiment, coupled with potential market corrections, is expected to significantly boost the DXY, particularly from post-September 7th and throughout the second half of the month. Cross-asset correlation. A rising DXY typically correlates with bearish pressure on risk assets like cryptocurrencies and, to some extent, precious metals. Conversely, a declining DXY tends to be bullish for these alternative assets. Opportunities. Should the DXY experience a potential decline towards late September, this period could present more favorable conditions for investments in cryptocurrencies. Investors looking to enter or add to crypto positions might find late-month DXY weakness an opportune moment, as pressure on these assets would likely ease. Precious metals, gold, XAU, and silver XAG overall outlook, bullish. Combined score, 810. The outlook for both gold and silver is broadly bullish, driven by a potent confluence of astrological indicators pointing towards heightened market uncertainty and a flight to safety. As traditional safe haven assets, they are poised to benefit from escalating risk-off sentiment and potential corrections in broader equity markets. They serve as a crucial hedge against systemic instability, which is reinforced by the dissolution of trust indicated by Saturn in Pisces and the systemic crisis implied by the Virgo eclipse, driving investors toward tangible stores of value. Gold, XAU sentiment, bullish score, 810. Gold is positioned as the primary astrological hedge against market chaos and crisis this month. The powerful eclipses and the Mars-Pluto square are classic drivers for gold investment, suggesting strong performance as a safe haven asset. While a surging DXY US dollar index could present a headwind, potentially capping gains, gold's primary role will be capital preservation. It is expected to outperform equities and cryptocurrencies. Key timing. Gold is anticipated to lead early in the month, reflecting institutional hedging strategies. Mid-month, a boost from Mars in Scorpio is expected to further enhance its safe haven appeal. Silver, XAG sentiment, volatile. Score, 710. In September, silver faces a more complex dynamic, caught in a tug-of-war between its dual roles as a precious metal and an industrial commodity. While it benefits from the broader safe haven bid, its industrial demand component suffers from the pessimistic economic outlook implied by the Virgo eclipse Saturn opposition. Consequently, silver is projected to exhibit higher volatility than gold, potentially experiencing sharp drops alongside other industrial commodities before finding support from monetary fear. Gold is expected to be the stronger performer of the two. Key timing: silver may lag gold initially, but speculative bids are anticipated towards the late month. Trading opportunities: peak and profit taking. A potential peak for both metals around September 15th could precede profit-taking pressures. Similarly, profit-taking might be warranted after the Virgo new moon solar eclipse, September 21st, as prices can experience significant fluctuations during these periods. Accumulation opportunities: traders may consider accumulating positions during periods of increased volatility, particularly around the Pisces full moon eclipse. Equity indices: S&P 500 and Nasdaq. Sentiment: neutral early, shifting to bearish after mid-month and around the eclipses. DXY strength is expected to exert downward pressure. Overall sentiment score: 410. In September 2025, the equity markets are anticipated to experience a decrease in performance, primarily driven by a broader risk-off sentiment as Saturn departs Aries and retrogrades back into Pisces. The S&P 500, vulnerable to systemic shocks, particularly from the Virgo solar eclipse, September 21st, which may impact employment data and overall systemic risk. Nasdaq, as a tech-heavy index, it faces direct challenges from the Uranus retrograde station on September 6th. Key astrological triggers: Mars square Jupiter, September 5th, signals the potential end of speculative excess, while the Sun-Saturn opposition around the solar eclipse, September 21st, points to a grim economic reality check. A continued decline in tech stocks is expected to significantly impact the Nasdaq's performance, contributing to the overall bearish outlook for both indices. Intermarket relationship analysis: this section examines the expected correlations and dynamics between Bitcoin, BTC, and other key asset classes throughout the month, highlighting potential shifts in market behavior. Bitcoin versus altcoins: the relationship between Bitcoin and altcoins is anticipated to be dynamic. Early month dynamics. Risk-off. Uncertainty: initially, a strong positive correlation is expected, particularly during periods of market uncertainty or risk-off events, e.g., around eclipses. In such scenarios, altcoins, due to their higher beta, are likely to amplify any downturns experienced by BTC. Bitcoin is projected to exhibit relatively more stability, while altcoins may experience heavier bleeding. Late month outlook. Recovery. Rotation towards the latter half of the month, especially post-September 22nd, a shift is anticipated. If Bitcoin establishes a floor and market sentiment improves, capital is expected to rotate from BTC into altcoins, leading to potential altcoin outperformance. Specific sectors with strong fundamental narratives, such as ISO DeFi, XRP, XLM, and privacy coins, could see significant breakouts, leveraging renewed cycle energy. The correlation is expected to remain positive, but with altcoins potentially leading the upside. Bitcoin versus gold and silver: a predominantly inverse correlation is expected between Bitcoin and precious metals, particularly during periods of heightened market fear or risk-off sentiment. Capital flow dynamics: this period is likely to showcase the classic dynamic where capital flows from digital gold, Bitcoin, often perceived as a risk-on asset, into physical gold and silver, traditional safe havens. As BTC faces downward pressure, precious metals are expected to attract bids and rise. Timing: this inverse relationship is projected to intensify mid-month. Gold and silver are likely to be strong during initial periods of market fear, though their upward momentum may cool if Bitcoin begins to recover later in the month. Bitcoin versus DXY US dollar index: a strong inverse correlation is consistently anticipated between Bitcoin and the US dollar index, DXY. Mechanism of correlation: a strengthening DXY typically signifies a flight to safety into the world's reserve currency, directly pulling liquidity from more speculative assets like Bitcoin. A rising DXY is therefore expected to exert significant downward pressure on BTC's price. Timing: DXY strength is particularly anticipated early in the month, which could cap Bitcoin's upside. However, there is a possibility that DXY may strengthen early but then weaken post-equinox, which could provide a bullish catalyst for BTC later on. ETH impact. Ethereum ETH is also expected to be negatively affected by a strengthening DXY, mirroring Bitcoin's inverse relationship. Precious metals versus DXY, expected correlation, inverse, traditional. Sentiment, gold silver, bullish, 710. DXY, sideways to bearish, 310. Analysis. The traditional inverse correlation between gold-silver and the DXY is anticipated. While initial uncertainty and Mercury aspects, Uranus retrograde, may see the DXY briefly strengthen as a safe haven and precious metals dip slightly, the prevailing astrological winds favor gold and silver. Saturn retrograde in Pisces, and the challenging solar eclipse, points to underlying economic instability or wavering confidence in traditional structures, bolstering safe haven demand for these metals. Concurrently, Libra season, Sun, Mercury, and Venus, is expected to weaken the DXY as global balance is emphasized, potentially allowing other currencies to gain ground. Gold and silver are likely to benefit significantly from this safe haven demand, especially around the eclipses. Gold versus silver, correlation, high, 810. Sentiment, both bullish. Analysis. As primary monetary hedges, gold and silver are expected to move in a strong tandem. Gold typically leads as the foundational safe haven, while silver may exhibit higher volatility, amplifying gold's moves. Equities versus gold, expected trend, a divergence is anticipated after September 7th, with equities, S&P, Nasdaq weakening while gold strengthens. Equities sentiment, initial sideways to bearish, then neutral. Analysis. The S&P and Nasdaq are likely to face early headwinds, experiencing tech-led volatility. The Nasdaq, in particular, is more sensitive to Uranus retrograde, suggesting tech sector recalibration, and Mercury's initial volatility. This period of equity weakness is expected to contribute to gold's strengthening as investors seek traditional safe havens. A shift towards reevaluation and consolidation within equities is probable later in the period. Lunar Trading Calendar Sentiment Guide, September 1st, Moon in Sagittarius. The markets open September with a shift in tone as Saturn retrogrades back into Pisces and Mars forms a tense aspect to Uranus. This creates a push-pull between expansionary optimism, Sagittarius Moon, and restriction or disillusionment, Saturn in Pisces. Bitcoin and major cryptos may see a temporary bullish burst, sentiment score, 610, driven by speculation and a risk-on sentiment, but the underlying instability suggests quick reversals. Altcoins, especially speculative Web3 and AI tokens, may outperform briefly before profit-taking. XRP shows neutrality, holding steady amid broader volatility. Gold and silver can benefit slightly from Saturn's Pisces influence, while the DXY looks pressured short-term. Not a time for chasing rallies, small sell-off dips can be bought, but tight stops are essential. Market sentiment, leaning bullish sentiment score, 6 out of 10. September 2nd, 3 Moon in Capricorn. As the moon shifts into disciplined Capricorn, the market sentiment turns significantly more cautious and structured, with a strong emphasis on foundational value and institutional stability. Mercury's tumultuous array of aspects, quincunx Saturn, entering Virgo, quincunx Neptune, square Uranus, and quincunx Pluto, suggests extreme volatility, confusion, and potential for sudden, disruptive information or even misinformation. This period is prone to FUDI fear, uncertainty, doubt, with Mercury squaring Uranus and quincunx Neptune, making it difficult to discern reliable facts from speculation. The Moon squaring Neptune further amplifies the potential for delusion or hidden issues, while Moon opposite Jupiter warns against overextension and prompts a reality check. Later, the moon squaring Mars could indicate frustration and conflict, and the moon opposite Jupiter suggests a correction from overly optimistic positions. This is a strong risk-off environment. Bitcoin, XRP, and particularly more speculative altcoins, are highly vulnerable to sell-offs and liquidations, with the potential for sharp drops. Gold and silver are likely to find strong safe haven bids, while the DXY could strengthen significantly as investors flock to security. Market sentiment, bearish sentiment score, 3 out of 10. September 4th, 5 A moon in Aquarius. The Aquarius moon aligns with Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto, sparking volatility and sudden shifts. Mars square Jupiter adds overconfidence and leverage risk, amplifying swings. This period leans neutral to bullish, sentiment score, 6 out of 10, but traders should expect sharp intraday reversals. Bitcoin may rally as sentiment shifts toward innovation and tech optimism, with AI, privacy, and Web3 Alts seeing speculative flows. XRP shows mixed signals, possibly muted compared to high beta alts. However, with Venus opposite the moon on September 5th, emotional overinvestment can trigger profit-taking. DXY may weaken slightly, boosting gold and silver, though silver shows more erratic moves under Aquarius energy. Momentum trades are possible, but profits should be taken quickly. Whipsaws will be common. Market sentiment, mixed to cautiously bullish sentiment score, 6 September 10th 6th, 7 Moon in Pisces. Full moon lunar eclipse. This period is highly emotional, fluid, and potentially chaotic due to the full moon and lunar eclipse in Pisces. This fated event often marks a significant turning point, bringing hidden matters to light, dissolving old structures, or revealing truths that were previously obscured. With Uranus turning retrograde in Gemini on September 6th, external shocks may give way to internal shifts and a re-evaluation of technological innovation and communication. The moon squaring Uranus further amplifies sensitivity and potential for unexpected emotional disruptions. Moon opposite Mercury in Virgo indicates a clash between emotional truths and rational facts, leading to widespread confusion, misinformation, or difficulty in clear market communication. This is a prime risk-off environment, characterized by heightened fear and emotional trading. Bitcoin, XRP, and altcoins are extremely vulnerable to significant price volatility, sharp sell-offs, and potential liquidations as collective emotions reach a peak. Sell-off is the dominant theme, and buy the dip attempts are extremely risky during this period, as the eclipse energy could lead to deeper corrections or expose underlying vulnerabilities in the market. Gold and silver will likely be seen as strong safe haven assets, experiencing significant buying interest, and the DXY is expected to strengthen considerably. Market sentiment, strongly bearish sentiment score, 2 out of 10. September 8th, 10 Moon in Aries. The moon's shift into Aries after the Pisces eclipse hangover injects fresh but unstable energy into the markets. Early in the transit, the moon conjuncts Neptune and sextiles Uranus-Pluto, sparking speculative optimism, yet this is countered by the sun sesquisquare Pluto, September 9th, which can reveal hidden market manipulation or regulatory shadows. Sentiment is neutral to cautiously bullish, score, 5. 5 out of 10, with Bitcoin attempting a rebound from eclipse-driven sell-offs, though gains may be fragile. XRP remains indecisive, while high-volatility altcoins, AI, DeFi and meme tokens, can see short-lived pumps. Gold and silver may consolidate after safe haven spikes, and DXY could stay firm as a backdrop of caution persists. Best strategy, scalping by the dip plays in BTC and selective alts, but avoid over-leveraging, sharp reversals are likely. September 10th, 12 A moon in Taurus. The moon's ingress into stable Taurus traditionally suggests a period of consolidation, value assessment, and accumulation, favoring a hodl mentality. However, this period is significantly challenged by a series of tense aspects, indicating a risk-off environment despite the moon's grounded placement. The Taurus moon emphasizes stability and tangible value, but this period is riddled with tension, moon square Pluto, September 10th, and oppositions to Mars and Lilith create financial stress points. Mercury and the Sun engage the node, raising market uncertainty about macro direction. Market sentiment leans bearish to neutral, score 4.5 out of 10, with Bitcoin and major cryptos vulnerable to renewed selling or sideways chop. XRP may underperform here, as Venus square Lilith stirs collective doubt, and altcoins with weak fundamentals face pressure. Gold and silver gain modest defensive flows as capital rotates back into safe havens, while the DXY stabilizes. This is more of a sell-off window than a buy opportunity. Caution is warranted until clearer reversal signals emerge after September 12th. September 12th, 14, a moon in Gemini. Last quarter moon, this period begins with a burst of communication, information, and high volatility as the moon enters Gemini. The Gemini moon reintroduces volatility and duality into sentiment, amplified by Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto activations on September 12, 13. The initial aspects, including moon trine Mercury and Sun, and sextiles to Jupiter, Neptune, and Pluto, suggest an optimistic and expansive flow of information, quick decision-making, and innovative ideas permeating the market. The moon's conjunction to retrograde Uranus in Gemini amplifies this, promising sudden, unpredictable movements, technological breakthroughs, and significant risk on speculative activity, particularly for altcoins and the broader crypto market. However, the last quarter moon in Gemini, occurring on September 14th, marks a critical turning point. This lunar phase signifies a period of reassessment and adjustment, where previous trends and market narratives are questioned. The moon squares to the Sun, Mercury, and North Node introduce significant tension, challenging clarity and communication in the overall market direction. This shift from initial speculative excitement to critical evaluation can trigger profit-taking and renewed uncertainty, transitioning the sentiment from risk-on to risk-off. Bitcoin and XRP could see rapid price swings, experiencing strong pumps followed by sharp corrections around the last quarter. Altcoins, especially those linked to new narratives or tech, could lead the initial surge but also be most vulnerable to the subsequent sell-off. Gold and silver may see an initial dip as risk-on appetite increases, then regain some ground as the market reassesses. DXY could initially weaken with speculative exuberance, then strengthen with renewed caution. Market sentiment is neutral to bullish, score 6 out of 10. The last quarter itself is a strong signal for profit-taking and potential sell-offs, creating opportunities for patient investors to buy the dip after the market adjusts to the new information. September 15th, 16, moon in Cancer. This period begins with the moon in emotionally sensitive Cancer, suggesting a focus on security, liquidity, and a desire for safe haven assets within the crypto space. The initial moon square Neptune transit introduces confusion and potential for misdirection or speculative fog, making it a risk-off environment marked by uncertainty and potential for irrational fear or greed. This means sharp, unclear moves are possible, making it difficult to discern genuine trends. Midway, the moon trines Jupiter and Lilith, and sextiles the Sun, September 16th, providing short bursts of optimism and liquidity. However, by the evening, moon squares to Chiron and Mars add stress, reflecting fear-driven volatility. The underlying planetary aspects, including various Chiron contacts, further emphasize sensitivity to market weaknesses. For Bitcoin and XRP, this period could see initial dips followed by a bounce on Jupiter's optimism, but then face profit-taking or aggressive sell-offs as vulnerabilities surface. Altcoins, especially smaller caps, will likely experience heightened volatility, amplifying both the opportunistic buys and the subsequent sell-offs. Gold and silver might see some safety inflows during the periods of confusion vulnerability, while the DXY could strengthen as a risk-off play during the moon square Neptune and moon square Mars phases. Overall, anticipate emotional swings and heightened volatility, with caution advised towards the end of the period. Sell-off opportunities might arise from the confusion and later the aggressive square, while buy the dip could be brief during the Moon-Jupiter optimism, but risky. Market sentiment, neutral bearish. Mixed volatility with underlying caution. Market sentiment score, 4 out of 10. September 17, 18. A Moon in Leo. As the Moon enters flamboyant Leo, the market shifts into a highly speculative, confident, and potentially over-exuberant phase. This typically signals a risk-on environment, where traders are eager to take bold actions. Initially, the Moon trine Neptune and sextile Uranus support this, bringing exciting, innovative, and intuitive pushes that could fuel rapid gains, especially for speculative altcoins and projects with a strong narrative. However, this brief burst of optimism, which could be a sell the rally opportunity, is immediately met with the potent and transformative Moon opposite Pluto. This aspect indicates intense power struggles, potential for manipulation, or significant market reversals, suggesting a sharp shift to risk-off as major players contend for control. This can lead to significant price swings, capitulation, or a dramatic re-evaluation of assets. The Moon square Lilith later adds to the rebellious and unpredictable energy, potentially exposing hidden agendas or triggering unexpected public reactions. Concurrently, Mercury opposition Saturn brings restrictive news and pessimistic communication, dampening enthusiasm and creating structural challenges for the market. Mercury opposition Neptune further adds to confusion and deceptive information flow, making it challenging to identify true market signals. The balsamic Moon phase suggests introspection and a winding down of the current cycle, which can translate to reduced volume or uncertainty before a major shift. For Bitcoin and XRP, this period is likely to be highly volatile. Short-term pumps followed by sharp corrections under the Pluto opposition are probable. Altcoins will experience extreme swings, with smaller caps particularly vulnerable to pump-and-dump schemes or rapid liquidations. Bitcoin may struggle to maintain a bullish structure, XRP underperforms, and altcoins are vulnerable to liquidity drains. Gold and silver might attract safe haven flows during the intense Pluto opposition, while a strong DXY could reflect the overall risk-off sentiment dominating the middle to end of this period. Sell-offs are highly likely, and by the dip attempts would be extremely risky given the intense and conflicting energies. Gold and silver benefit from defensive rotation, while DXY strengthens on uncertainty. Market sentiment is bearish to neutral. Score, 4 out of 10. Sell-offs dominate this window, better to wait than buy dips until after the Leo volatility passes. September 19, 21, Moon in Virgo, New Moon, Solar Eclipse. This is the most pivotal and volatile period of the month. The new Moon solar eclipse in Virgo, September 21st, conjunct the Sun and opposite Saturn is heavy, karmic, and restrictive, often a marker of market resets. As the Moon enters Virgo, the market shifts to a more cautious, detail-oriented, and critical mode. This can lead to consolidation or profit-taking as investors scrutinize the underlying health and fundamentals of assets. The Moon opposite node suggests a market moving against the expected path, adding to uncertainty. The initial Moon square Uranus can bring sudden, disruptive shocks or unexpected volatility, indicating a risk-off environment where unforeseen events challenge market stability. This could be a significant sell-off event. Venus enters Virgo on September 19 and makes challenging aspects to Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto through September 20, 21, signaling turbulence in sentiment, potential regulatory or legal news, and sudden shifts in risk appetite. The climax is the solar eclipse in Virgo on September 21, coupled with the new moon. Eclipses are powerful resets, often bringing fated changes and revealing hidden issues over the subsequent months. In Virgo, this reset demands a critical, analytical approach to market structure, utility, and efficiency. This is a period of high uncertainty and potential for a major market recalibration. The Sun opposition Saturn, followed by Moon opposition Saturn just before the eclipse, signifies significant restrictions, pessimism, and a harsh reality check for market participants. This further cements a risk-off environment, intensifying fear and caution. The Moon opposition Neptune immediately after the eclipse adds to the confusion and potential for deceptive narratives during the crucial reset phase. Bitcoin risks sharp sell-offs around the eclipse, while XRP faces uncertainty tied to partnerships or regulation themes. Speculative altcoins could see capitulation, possibly a longer-term buy-the-blood setup, but not immediately. Gold and silver gain on risk aversion, while the DXY spikes higher as capital flees into the dollar. This is a period for extreme caution, deep analysis, and prepared positioning for a potentially significant market shift, rather than active trading. Sell-offs are very likely, and to buy the dip is extremely risky. Market sentiment, bearish, high uncertainty, fundamental reset. Market sentiment score, 3 out of 10, extremely volatile with potential fake-outs. September 22, 23, Moon in Libra. The Libra moon coincides with the autumn equinox, Sun enters Libra, and Mars ingress into Scorpio, marking a significant shift in collective momentum. This period begins with a potential for dynamic upside, as the moon in balanced Libra makes harmonious trines to Uranus and Pluto early on September 22, indicating sudden, transformative shifts and innovative growth. The entry of Mars into intense Scorpio on September 22, along with the Sun entering Libra, suggests an underlying drive for decisive action and a new focus on market equilibrium, giving a temporary lift to crypto markets. However, the Moon conjunct Mercury and later square Jupiter, alongside the Sun's opposition to Neptune, September 23, warn of confusion, deception, or disillusionment, making the market vulnerable to fake-outs or unexpected shifts in sentiment, leading to reversals. Bitcoin may see speculative upticks, but XRP and altcoins could overextend before facing corrective pullbacks. Gold and silver remain steady but less favored as risk-on behavior builds, while the DXY weakens slightly. This is a buy-the-dip window in BTC and large-cap alts early in the transit, but greed may overheat markets by September 23. Overall market sentiment, neutral to moderately bullish, transitioning to cautious. Sentiment score, 6 out of 10, initially, dropping to 410. September 24, 26, Moon in Scorpio. Intensity dominates as the Scorpio moon aligns with Mars, Pluto, and Lilith, while Mars itself squares Pluto, September 24, a configuration notorious for financial stress and market shakeouts. Early conjunctions, Moon, Mars, Moon, Pluto, can trigger strong volatility and liquidations in crypto, especially in leveraged altcoins. By September 25, 26, supportive trines to Jupiter, Saturn, and the node provide grounding, suggesting bottoming potential after the shakeout. Overall market sentiment, highly volatile, bearish initially, transitioning to moderately bullish. Sentiment score, 310 initially, rising to 610 by the end. Early on, this is a risk-off period with high fear, but it gradually shifts to a risk-on environment driven by constructive development. Bitcoin and established altcoins could find strong support and begin to recover from mid-period onwards. The DXY might strengthen during the initial fear, while gold and silver could see significant safe haven flows, stabilizing as constructive aspects take hold. Expect sell-offs around September 24, 25, followed by cautious buy-the-dip opportunities emerging late September 26 as stability returns. September 27, 28, Moon in Sagittarius. With the moon in adventurous Sagittarius, market sentiment becomes expansive, optimistic, and highly speculative. The moon trine Neptune enhances idealism and potentially stimulates interest in meme coins or projects with strong narratives, but perhaps weaker fundamentals. This fosters a risk-on environment, driven by enthusiasm and FOMO. Bitcoin and altcoins could experience rapid pumps. However, this period is marked by high unpredictability due to the moon opposite Uranus, which signifies sudden reversals, unexpected events, and sharp shifts between greed and fear. This is a prime whipsaw period where rapid rises can be followed by equally swift corrections. Despite constructive moon sextiles to Pluto, Sun, and Mercury, offering clarity and transformative potential, the moon square Venus and node suggest challenges to market values and collective direction. This makes for a dynamic but unpredictable trading environment. Sell-off opportunities could arise after rapid pumps, and buy-the-dip opportunities may appear during sudden, sharp corrections. Sentiment is bullish but unstable, score 7-10. Prone to reversals, Bitcoin may lead a rebound with renewed risk appetite, XRP benefits from trader optimism, and altcoins, especially DeFi and gaming tokens, could outperform, though prone to whipsaws. Gold and silver soften as capital rotates into risk, while DXY retreats. Buy-the-dip opportunities are stronger here, but traders should expect high volatility and manage positions carefully. September 29-30 A moon in Capricorn. First quarter moon, as the moon enters practical Capricorn, market sentiment becomes more grounded, disciplined, and focused on foundations. This period presents a critical turning point with the first quarter moon square Sun, on September 29, signifying a need for decisive action and a potential clash between market forces and investor sentiment. Initial sentiment may be complicated by the moon square Neptune, suggesting confusion, liquidity issues, or potential disillusionment, especially for highly speculative assets. This could trigger a minor risk-off phase, leading to sell-off opportunities in overextended cryptos. However, the moon sextile Mars on September 29 provides constructive energy for taking practical steps. By September 30, harmonious aspects like moon trine Venus and moon sextile North Node bring a sense of finding value, market harmony, and moving towards a more accepted, collective direction. This shift encourages a more disciplined risk-on approach, where quality assets are favored. Overall market sentiment, cautious and realistic, transitioning to moderately bullish. Sentiment score, 5-10 initially, rising to 6-10. Bitcoin consolidates, XRP finds stability, and altcoins selectively recover from recent volatility, though not all sectors will bounce equally. Gold and silver could see increased interest as reliable stores of value during the initial cautious phase, and continue to hold appeal with the Capricorn moon's emphasis on stability, while DXY begins to plateau. This is more of a sideways to accumulation phase, with gradual buy-the-dip opportunities, especially in large-cap cryptos. This concludes our September 2025 Eclipse season, crypto market astrology forecast. Please support my work by liking, sharing, and subscribing. Thank you for watching and see you next time.